Hello, and thank you very much for pressing play. I think you're really going to like the conversation that I am hosting today. It's very different from anything I've done here on the podcast, maybe at all, frankly, and I'm really excited about it. On today's stand-up special, I'm going to go ahead and call it, I reached out to 4 women who I have gotten to know really well, Black women that are members of our community, subscribers, longtime listeners to the show, to ask them what it meant to see Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson be confirmed or be nominated and testify and hopefully confirmed to be the first Black woman on the Supreme Court. I thought there's been so much great analysis and reaction from all of the pros and all of the experts, but I wanted to reach out and talk with and connect with Black women who are, quote, normal, meaning they don't go in on media appearances and TV shows and radio shows all the time to talk about their analysis, because I really wanted to know how it made them feel to watch these confirmation hearings. I think most of us probably had a wide range or have been having a wide range of emotions, from anger to inspiration, from sadness to pride. And so that's the conversation that I had with Vikki, Karen, Kimberly, and Frances on today's show. And you know what? Strike the word normal about these women, because they are nothing but normal. What I meant by using that word is they don't have an agenda to go on TV and radio and speaking. They're not that type of a professional communicator, but they are all brilliant communicators and explaining their emotions, their analysis of things. And I have learned so much from all of them over the years. So that's all I meant by that. They aren't agenda driven to come into media. This was something that we organically thought of doing together and finally made it happen. And because the last couple of days have been absolutely crazy around the shed, all good, I don't have a news segment or update for you either. Hey, if Pete Coe's going to take the day off from the jingle, then I'm going to do something really special. So skipping the news segment today and getting right to my conversation with these 4 brilliant, amazing, insightful, inspiring, articulate, wonderful friends of mine. And without giving full bios of each one of them, I'd love to invite you to come meet them at our hangouts, get to know them as well. Join us, subscribe to the podcast, and maybe we can just make this a thing. Maybe this will be a hit show where I'm really only there sitting in the control room, producing it and pressing the buttons, sitting back and laughing and listening, as opposed to kind of steering the conversation the way I did today. I think it's fine if I just step out of it, frankly. I always want to get a perspective from people who I am not, and I think we did a pretty good job at that today, and I cannot thank all of these women and all of the rest of you for supporting the show and allowing us to create a space for this conversation, along with the community that we have become part of and built this trust amongst so many different kinds of people, giving us kind of the ability, the credibility to be able to have these types of sobering, honest conversations in a way that is as, I think, genuine and authentic as we have today. And to put a platform under it that anybody can give access to and listen to it anytime. So, without further ado, my conversation from last night with these 4 brilliant women about what it means to see Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson sitting in that chair, how they've viewed it, how it's made them feel, and we talked about several other issues along with it. About an hour-long conversation. Here we go. Okay, so here they are. I'm very excited to be sitting down with these 4 women who I've gotten to know, especially over the pandemia. And I'm really happy to be taped. We're trying to tape this conversation for a lot of different reasons, but I know that it's going to be amazing because we've been talking for the past couple of years, and they're very popular. They're kind of cool kids in the group. Everybody likes to hear from them, and I certainly do. And so I'm really happy to be talking to you guys, and I appreciate you doing this. And who knows, it could become the biggest new show. Thank you, Karen, Vikki, Frances, and Kimberly for joining me. And I just wanted to start by letting you kind of define why you think this is going to be hopefully a good idea for us to have this conversation for other people to listen to. Karen, I want you to try to attempt to answer that first.
Ooh, throwing it to me. I think this conversations that we can have will be very insightful. I do know that we've all bonded over Zoom over the last couple of years, but there's still a lot that people don't know about us individually, our lives, and how the outside world affects us. And I think the four women here, we all come from different backgrounds and our views are different, yet we're bonded by the power of sisterhood, by being Black women and by being strong women in this world. So I think our perspective on our four different perspectives on the same topics could be very insightful and informative to the listeners.
I agree with that. Well done for the first batter. Kimberly. Are you really taking yourself off mute?
I'm really going to say, I can't say anything more than that. I think I would say when this idea was I thought I was tickled pink because I was like, who wants to hear me yammer for however minutes about a certain topic? I get very wonky and nuancy at times, but I really like this conversation because I feel like it's a conversation that there's never really spaces that you get to hear just from women, and especially Black women. And it's usually when you do hear it, it's related to things that, I mean, as much as it's important to have those social conversations, you never actually hear like just the word on the street, like this is my lived experience, right. But yet I'm educated. I am I'm in a space where I have the greatest support of family, and I have the luxury and the privilege to have both parents who guide me and give me so much insight and family. And so I think hearing that type of voice sometimes is missed in that void. And so I'm so excited. And then also to be sharing the stage with these three wonderful ladies. First of all, I don't even feel like, I feel totally honored. And as I said to Pete earlier, when he invited me to this, I don't feel worthy to sit on the stage with you three. You just have such an insight. And at times I feel like I come in and I get all emotional and start like getting in my feelings, but you all really, I feel your passion, but I also feel your intellect, and I strive to be where you're at. So I'm very privileged to be here today. Thank you for inviting me, Pete.
Well, we're all really happy to have you here. Just one tiny thing I'd add is most of the time, if you do hear from Black women in this kind of situation, it's either they were asked like a man on the street situation, which is never good for anybody, because you were just walking down the street and now you're being asked a thing. But more importantly, it's people who are professional pundits, commentators, influencers, whatever. I thought if I just picked you guys, you didn't ask to do this necessarily. We talked about it. It was kind of an idea, but it would just be, quote, normal people, not people who are setting out for careers in punditry, et cetera. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. So that's what this is also. Francis, what do you think this is? How would you respond to either Kimberly or Karen? What could this be?
Just definitely backing them both up. I know since this has been going on, we have our conversations with the people that are in our tribe, whether it's your family members, whether it's your friends, and the things that you might say in those audiences are going to be one way, but there's definitely a better way by you giving us this opportunity to share this with a multitude of other people. It allows us to say it in a way that's much more articulate. Real talk, I might not be dropping as many curse words as I was when I'm talking to my friends or my family members about this situation. But it's not to say that the feeling isn't the same. But this gives us that platform to share those same opinions with, tons of other people. And that is priceless. And I'm very appreciative, and I have a feeling that the rest of us are as well, to be able to share these thoughts and opinions. So,
well, just very well said, and that's my intentions. But my further intentions are hopefully to step out of this and go into the control room and just let you guys go, and then you'll just hear my audio, like my verbal reactions, mostly hopefully laughing at you guys talking. Vikki, last and certainly not least, what do you hope we get out of this for folks listening? Why are you willing to do this?
Well, I think that it's important that all voices are heard, that everybody has a different set of circumstances that they come from, a different way of thinking. What I loved about this group from when we first started having conversations was we all have a different perspective on things, and that we all do come with the same mindset, though, that I'm willing to learn and that I want to learn. And we don't ever walk into a room and say, and I know it all. And that because there are nuggets that you get from Kim and from Karen and from Francis. And I loved that there was a conversation we had that Francis made me think more deeply about something I was saying. And it just meant so much to me. And I actually text her the next day and just said, sis, I really appreciate what you said, because it really made me take a harder look at some of the things that I was saying. Because in this world, there's so many things that, or so many views that are shaded by the way we were taught, that until we open up, until we open up and allow others to teach us, to train us, to show us different points of view, it just makes our lives more beautiful.
I remember that.
They make my life beautiful. They really do.
That's awesome. Mine too, of course, all of you. And I remember that was the night that you were professing your love for the music of Kenny Rogers, and Francis took you aside and said, listen, it's a little much. Is that right?
No, we liked Kenny Rogers. Oh. We just didn't like what he did with his face.
Okay. That's right.
Kenny Rogers' music actually gets played on the R&B station here. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we liked him.
What did I say?
His voice is sultry.
Oh, yeah.
How? Wasn't expecting that. See, already learning.
A little too much Botox.
Yes. He really did it.
He's only for radio. Didn't say video.
He really did it at the end. Okay, so the top reason, the reason I thought to do this today was because more than anything else, I wanted to know the significance of the confirmation hearings of the first Black woman for Supreme Court. You know, it happening during our lifetimes, and what it meant to you all, and how closely you're paying attention to this, because I feel like that's the most important consequence of her confirmation. Unfortunately, it doesn't throw the balance really differently ideologically, but everybody keeps talking about how much it matters that she's there. So and let's just have a free for all now. So I won't really call on you. I just kind of want to hear you guys maybe, chat with each other and about the significance of this woman. First of all, I guess, are you surprised that Joe Biden made that promise and kept that promise both with the vice president and then, of course, the Supreme Court justice?
No surprise at all. I absolutely expected it. And I think that Black voices have demanded it, especially since we didn't get it from President Obama, knowing that these women have been waiting in the wings to come forward. It was really important that he do it.
Well, and I knew it was intentional when he appointed her to the appellate court. I mean, that is the pathway. And that appointment early on, was a tell that, he was going to keep to that promise, because you knew that, he could not pick someone who was not in a certain circuit. They had to have some appellate experience at that level. And so him doing that earlier in a year ago was a tell that he was going to keep to that promise. The unfortunate wish that bench was a little bit deeper. And that's on us though, too, because we need to figure out how we can get our elected officials to be making sure Black, both men and women, are being looked at and ascending to those higher spaces.
Anybody else want to add anything to your surprise that Joe Biden kept his word? Well, let's just get to the real question I wanted to get to. How does it make you feel to see her be sitting there? And we can get to the indignity. Is that a word? Indignity? indignance that she's had to, the disrespect, trying to be smart, that she's had to deal with. But there's obviously, I want to hear what you think about that and how the whole, how she has to behave and all of it. But what does it mean to you to see her there at these hearings, sitting there about most likely to be on the Supreme Court?
I'll say, obviously there's a immense sense of pride. It's terrible that we have had to wait this long for our voices to be represented. It's horrible that, Joe Biden had to, make it known, because she's obviously the most qualified. But there's things, this is just something in my lifetime that I didn't know that I would see, just because of how the world has operated, how America has operated. So the intense amount of pride is what I feel first. We can go into later, like you said, the behaviors, how she's being treated. It evokes a whole range of emotion. But my number one emotion is pride. Just like her daughter. Her daughter wrote that letter when she was, 11, to say my mom would be great. She's fulfilling a destiny that we're all proud of.
Who else? Who's next?
Well, so Pete, you talked about this. I think it was last week when you had the Doug gentleman on, who has his new podcast.
Oh, the former Republican Doug Collins. Yeah.
Is he Doug Collins? Because there's like a basketball player, Doug Collins.
Yep, that's the good one. The basketball player's burden is to be having to share a name. It's like Boston Globe columnist Michael Cohen and lawyer Michael Cohen.
Cohen, that poor dude. But yeah, so you brought up this idea of the difference between being blessed and being having
privilege.
Privilege, yes, thank you.
Yes, he said he said
blessed.
He described, for those that didn't hear it, he described basically, I was blessed to be born into this family, and he talked about his family. And so when he got done with that, I go, the word blessed, is that equivalent to the word privileged? And he did exactly what I thought he would do, which is he tripped on his dick.
Well, there's that, but to me, and this comes down to like your religious background and everything, but I could see those two things as being similar. And so in a situation like this, where we live in 2022 and we have the first vice president that is a person of color, she is representing our country. And this is something that we could have never imagined. And thank you, Joe Biden, for allowing for that to be the case. And now we're about to have our first justice that is another Black woman representing us. And so we're in this culture where it's like we are either blessed or super privileged to exist in this America now, where these things are actually coming to fruition. We do realize, yes, every day there's something that's happening that's banging at the doors trying to tear it back down with, the CRT debate and just what church do you go to? Whatever is being said is out there just trying to destroy and bring down these walls. But we also have to remember, even though we feel like, yes, this stuff is doomsday and it's just the end of all, because every day there's something, we also have to realize that we are blessed or privileged enough as Black women, as Americans, to be in this country where this kind of thing is happening. And it's happening, we want it more. But this kind of stuff was not even something you could imagine 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So
sorry.
I'm proud and I'm happy.
Sorry for thinking while you're talking, but I thought two things. A, I can't believe I'm hosting this conversation and taping, and I can't wait for people to hear. We have amazingly brilliant humans here. And two, your headphones audio quality are not great. And could you take them off? Because you're saying all these amazing things and there's like a little static. And I was like, see if you can switch mics while I go to Kimberly. No, I'm going to go to Vikki, because Kimberly, listen, not everybody's going to see this. Maybe nobody sees this. Kimberly seems to have just jammed a piece of cheddar cheese into her mouth. And so she's not ready to answer the question we're all here to answer.
We're covering for you, Kim. We got you.
Yeah, we got you. Get your snack.
Don't worry about it. But I agree with everything both these wonderful ladies said about the moment and understanding how historical this moment is. And it was your opening, was it yesterday, when you played Cory Booker?
Yeah.
I was driving and I promise you, I was almost in tears.
Yeah.
I got absolutely weepy just thinking about it. Because when my mom always describes when you're up close to something, you can't appreciate how magnificent it is until you pull back a little bit and you're able to see the whole thing. Mm. And just that opening just kind of took my breath and made me just kind of go, oh my goodness, I'm living in an era where this change is absolutely happening. And it's wonderful. In spite of the disrespect, in spite of the horrible way she's being treated, in spite of the stupid questions she's being asked, and just even thinking, she went through all of this last year and then they're dredging up all this dumb stuff because they don't have any real substantive thing to throw against her. And that gives me another sense of pride that they're that stupid.
But I also would say that, too, if you notice, and I don't know if you have the same experience in your profession, we are held to a different standard. We would not be even thought of if we had any blemish, any question or anything that would put us put the white sponsor in a bad light. And I'm not saying that to racialize this conversation around Joe Biden, because I think that it did take a white male to ascend, but that's normal. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is typically how people of color, especially Black women, are able to ascend. It's usually the white man who is giving us those opportunities. And because they are in that position too, and because there's not enough of us in those positions to do that. And so, I look at, with the, when Sotomayor was appointed, I thought that's wonderful. I felt like she had a sense, a self. And in her writings, you can see that because she can tear apart folks.
Yeah.
And I see now she now has going to have another justice alongside her, so she doesn't have to do the heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. And that's what because we talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion, that equity part, we still haven't figured out. And I just understand, if you listen to her story, she was smooth when she was talking about her brother and how he was in law enforcement and how she actually lifted up Black men, because she said her brother was looking at her uncles, and he went to Howard and he decided to become a police officer, knowing that he was going to be in the front lines. So don't talk about patriotism, people, because you want to raise that flag and wave it around. So I feel a sense of pride in this, but I also feel that only way this is going to ever continue to happen is that we, as the community, that's the electorate, we got to make sure we put the people in the spot to do these type of appointments.
Right. Got to do the work.
So, anyway.
You mentioned playing Cory Booker at the top of the podcast the other day, and I got a lot of feedback that was a great way to start the podcast. So the next day I did the same thing with J. Al Covan and did not get as positive of a reaction. But you mentioned Cory Booker, and I thought maybe I could catch maybe some or all of you off guard because you have lives and we're working and you may not have seen this. But tonight he did it again, to her face again. And I wanted to share my screen with you and watch it with you and get your reaction on the other side of this 2 minutes. Has anybody seen this yet?
I have not.
Or heard it?
Not.
None of you have seen or heard it yet. So nope. This is Cory Booker tonight, after she had just been, what are the words we want to throw out? Disrespected, harassed, insulted,
run over,
talked down to.
punched in the face, all of that.
After all of that, he kind of stepped up, and he basically, the way I'd say it is that he's not letting anybody take that joy that he expressed the other day. So if I can figure out how to share a screen. Here we go. See it?
Yes.
Here we go.
As Langston Hughes wrote, "Oh, let America be America again. The land that never has been yet, but yet must be the land where everyone is free." Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me, but I swear this oath, America will be. That is the story of how you got to this desk. You and I and everyone here, generations of folk who came here and said, America, I'm Irish. You may say, no, Irish or dogs need to fly, but I'm going to show this country that I can be free here. I can make this country love me as much as I love it. Chinese Americans first forced into near slave labor, building our railroads, connecting our country, saw the ugliest of America, but they were going to build their home here and say, America, you may not love me yet, but I'm going to make this nation live up to its promise and hope. LGBTQ Americans, from Stonewall women to Seneca, hidden figures who didn't even get their play until some Hollywood movie finally talked about them and how they were critical for us defying gravity. All of these people loved America. And so you faced insults here that were shocking to me. Well, actually not shocking. But you are here because of that kind of love. And nobody's taken this away from me. So you got 5 more folk to go through. 5 more of us. And then you can sit back and let us have all the debates. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a well-charted Senate floor because it's not going to stop. They're going to accuse you of this and that. Heck, in honor of your person who shares your birthday, you might be called a communist. But don't worry, my sister. Don't worry. God has got you. And how do I know that? Because you're here. And I know what it's taken for you to sit in that seat.
Get the tissues. Anyone?
I'm not a crier. I am not. But that got me. That really got me. Like, and I was looking at her.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Hillary was running and she had started to cry at one point, and it was to show that she has emotion. And then people were damning her for that because you can't show emotion. You have to be this strong character. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yep.
Am I better?
Yes, you're perfect now.
Bravo. But then she had to talk about, well, she has testicular fortitude. And so watching Judge Ketanji up there and seeing where she was, it looked like she was doing everything she could to try not to shed the tears. And she was moving her mouth around to try and like maybe hold it back. But then at a certain point, you just can't because he was so empowering. I mean, the emotion that he was sharing and everybody else up there is reading off of papers and they're just saying these lines that they've written to try and destroy. And his came from his heart. And that just, it was so uplifting to us, definitely to her. But I'm like, chills.
Anybody?
Absolute
That's very well said, Fred. I'm glad that I felt the same way. Anybody else want to say about how you saw, her feeling there and how you felt when you heard him do that?
It was like, I see you, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to, we all know what she must feel like, right? We might not have the same scale of attacks, but we've been in those positions before. But to have someone else say, I see you, and referencing all those other marginalized groups, like we keep coming back. Like you can't keep a sister down. Like we come back and we keep fighting. And yeah, we saved Joe Biden's, presidency, but we save families, we do all of these things with so little acknowledged value on how we participate in this world. So, that shocked me. Like, I see you. That's all. Like, that's how I saw. I see you. I see you, sister. And that's so important for the world to see, for young girls to see that you're not out here fighting the fight by yourself, that you are acknowledged. And that means the world to me.
So there's nothing that feels better, I guess, than when someone recognizes your struggle and does what you're saying he did to her. But he also is doing, I think, for any minority, anybody who, breaks through a glass ceiling, women in general, he's saying, I see you. And so that's what I wanted to ask you guys. Like, what you saw what she was dealing with. And as you said, Karen, you don't necessarily have to deal with it on a national TV, on a platform like this. But I was wondering if you guys would share with me how it makes you feel, or if you've had to basically control your emotions and behaviors, because you can't have the emotional spectrum that I can, as you've seen it all. So, like, the idea that she can't be angry, like, I want her to slam her fist down on the table and say to Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, or any of these assholes, how dare you? But she can't do that. Why can't she? And have you had to deal with that in your life?
We deal with it every day. I deal with it every day.
How?
That there are the constant slights, the microaggressions. And I think it's the microaggressions that kind of cut the deepest, because they dismiss your humanity. We were in a hotel, a very nice hotel, and we checked out, and my husband had already gone down, and I went to do my little once around in the room to make sure we hadn't left anything. And as I was leaving, this man walked over to me and said, "Oh, we've checked out of 412," or whatever his room number was. "We've checked out of 412 if you want to go ahead and get started."
Oh, my God. In front of your husband, too?
No. He'd already gone downstairs.
We didn't hear an arrest report, so.
No, you didn't. But
what did you say? What did you say?
I don't work here.
That's not a microaggression the way I would define it.
Well, so it's scale though. It's scale though. So there are some things that have been much worse.
Sure.
We had when we were in Mexico last year, we were getting in line, and this couple just came and just walked in front of us like we didn't even exist. So it's all of these things, and you can't take on every single time something like this happens. This can't be the war. This can't be the battle. That you have to put some of those things aside, move forward, and it's down to pick your battles. You have to pick the thing that you're going to fight about, because you can't fight about them all.
So do you guys agree with the frequency that Vikki just said? Like, I think you said daily, Kimberly. Like,
I last night, I can tell you, I had to check I come into this, I tell you, representation matter, because not for Cory Booker being a senator in that on that committee, those words would never have been said publicly. And so representation matters. I deal with it every day.
You didn't think Dick Durbin would have quoted Langston Hughes?
Does he know who Langston Hughes is?
Yeah, he know, because trust Dick Durbin from Illinois. He be hanging on the south side of churches. So
all right. Sorry to offend. Didn't mean to insult.
My bad. My bad.
So just don't go there.
I definitely should have gone with Chris Coons.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to say this. I had this situation happen to me just yesterday. It's been happening. It's misogyny, and then just add on top of it, this slight hinge of racism. I had a department head get in their feelings because our boss redirected a project to me, which made sense. It made a lot of sense. And they felt that you were taking something away from them. And I said to this individual last night, had no problem confronting a person in public in a space that we were together. And I said, if you have a problem, talk to me. Don't run to our boss. Have a conversation with me. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what you're talking about. What do you mean? I have no problem. And then he made the mistake of saying, well, you don't know. And I said, what don't I not know? Well, you have no experience in this. So you know my resume? And then he just kept digging that hole. And then I had to lay some facts on him. And he's like, oh, I just want to work together. And I just want to be. But it's like I used to be passive, and I'll let it slide, and I'll hold my breath, and I'll mumble on my mouth, and I'll say, now I cut that off. And one, because I'm in a position where I have that ability to do that. But two, I am not going to allow you to think that it is you're comfortable with the words that you're coming coming out your mouth. Right. And that I am going to check you. I am going to check my staff. I'm going to check you. And I'm going to check any other person that I see disrespecting any other person who you have marginalized. I had to check my staff person, who's the most junior person on the team, and say, you are not going to talk to our staff member like that again. He's like, oh, I was just joking. We friends. I say, it don't matter if you're friends. In a public setting, that looks very demoralizing. Those words, you telling someone, well, you do it. That's your job. No, mofo. Actually, now it's your job. Now it's your job. I just now assigned you with that task. So now you got to do it.
I wonder, Karen, I've heard you talk about, say very similar things about in the workplace confronting people. And I'm wondering, as Kimberly's talking, if you guys think that that times have changed, that you have changed. Has culture changed? Could your mothers or even fathers have stepped up to people in a similar way in the workplace? Or has something changed? Do you feel more empowered, more indignant, less able to suffer fools? What's for any of you? But Karen, I mentioned, do you think something has changed?
I would say that I've changed. And then there's also, the social equity movement, post George Floyd's murder, which brought conversations to the workplace. But I think just me becoming a little bit more secure in who I am as a person, as a woman, there was just things that I decided that I wasn't going to tolerate anymore. And if me speaking out was a detriment to my progress, then oh well, but I can't be disrespected. In this conversation, specifically about microaggressions, I keep thinking about my hair. So, and we were texting about the Crown Act. Like, that's so crucial to me because I was at a job a few years ago. And the first time I met my second line leader, he said, whoa, I didn't recognize you with your hair like that. And I was like, it was just braided. It was off my face. And I said, look, every meeting you see me, I'm going to have some sort of hairstyle like this because transporting all of my products would be, lugging 50 extra pounds on an airplane. So just look at my face, don't look at my hair. And every meeting and every day of every meeting that I saw this man, he made a comment about my hair. And it was, and at one point he made a comment about my hair when I was about to go into an interview. So, making you feel marginalized, right. Like, oh, I didn't recognize you with your hair like that. There was 5 Black women in that division. And looking just as different as the 4 of us women here. There's no mistaking one of us for the other. So to me, it was that I don't see you. I don't care that you're here. I don't care what you're contributing to the bottom line of this organization. I don't care that you were, number 9 out of a sales force of 90, like you were top tier. I'm still going to make you feel small because I can say it and you're not going to do anything. And I also had a manager that said, I don't believe people would be that cruel. He doesn't mean anything. So his behavior was defended by other people.
Well, I think,
disrupt it.
Don't you think sometimes people need to be educated that their intentions they thought were good are not? Does somebody need to tell him, hey, isn't that basically what you did? Like, stop it. I don't like it.
If I'm the only one saying it, then that's one noise out of all of these people that I work with.
Yeah, well, it's not your responsibility.
And she's complaining.
By the way, the House passed, Karen mentioned the Crown Act, banning discrimination against Black hairstyles. But of course, this is the House of Representatives. It will now go to the Senate, where it will be
up to mansion and cinema.
It will be put on a shelf somewhere.
Well, half of them don't have no hair anyway. So
hey, what?
And we're not shaming the bald.
The bald. Anybody else?
I am. I'm shaming the bald Republicans.
But we all have hair stories. I mean, I was at a meeting last week. Somebody had their hands in my hair.
Yeah,
that's the worst.
That's
but the sneaky touch your hair,
right?
That's the worst.
I'm not a puppy.
You think we're kidding, Pete?
No, I don't.
Somebody walk up to me and literally go with their what are you doing?
I had it here. Someone put their hand like
looks so
here.
soft.
Like it was so aggressive, and that's intimate, right? Yeah. If anyone's putting their hands in your hair, that's intimate. I feel like that might be more intimate than kissing.
Well, that's I do believe you, Vikki, is the way that you delivered it and that you were jutting your hand out. That was what made me laugh. But Francis, you had a hair comment. And also, while any other examples of microaggressions, I think these kinds of anecdotes are really informing and enlightening for everybody, no matter how hard you're trying to be, open-minded, kind, enlightened. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So hitching your wagon. Where I work now, my counterpart is an older white man. He is 65 years old, roughly. And we just got a new boss. He's a Black man. He's probably in his 40s. And it was interesting because yesterday we were having a conversation and we were just saying how when it comes to speaking up in the workplace, if you don't know the definition of a word, because we're working on onboarding, people might be weary to actually speak up and say something like, oh, I'm not sure as a woman or as a minority. I don't want to look stupid, so I'm not going to say anything. And this is what my boss was saying. And so my colleague, the older white gentleman, was like, well, what about me? I mean, what about us? What about, the old white man? What if we have a question? What if we want to say something? We might be scared to say it or something like that. And my boss, our boss, was like, nah, you just old. Like maybe you don't want to speak up because you're old and you're confused about it, and that was him kind of like whipping him back and putting him back on his place.
Is there audio of that by any chance?
No audio, just the good old mind. But I was like, but you also see, because he couldn't help, but he had to say something. He had to contribute to this conversation where we were talking about minorities and women, and he just had to. And I always talk about this thing where it's like you have this little devil on your back, and maybe for Karens or something, there's 2 of them. And they're always like, say something, do it. And you're like, you shouldn't say this, but the thing is just like, say it, speak up. They need to hear your voice. They need to hear it. And the people give into it. And it's like,
it's like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Yes. My precious, speak. And they do it. It's so precious. Yeah. And so I don't know. It's sometimes you just take the back seat and you're like, all right, they have to say something. They have to give into the voice. But then there are other times where you're like, don't touch me. You can't treat me that way. And I have to step on your toes. I have to shut you down because that's not okay.
What I'm also hearing is that we could do an hour or 10 every week with you guys called microaggressions, and you would have material
for days, weeks, lifetimes.
So when you're watching today's confirmation hearings and when you're sharing your own experiences, do you think that, like, could you take me inside, if you don't mind, peeling back the curtain of the solidarity that you feel like you have amongst each other? Or is it always kind of the case? Is there a wink, wink, nod, nod? I've dealt with this most of the time. Is that how you feel? You walk into a new workplace and there's just a couple of black women or black folks at all there. Help me understand what your experience has been with the sisterhood you described and solidarity that is or maybe isn't there. Anyone?
I think it's unspoken, but understood.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the shared experiences, we know the things that our moms, and if we have older sisters or aunts, or, I had a 108-year-old great aunt, the things that she went through and having to not be able to be her full self, except surrounded by other Black women or Black families.
I think, by the way, that what you just said, it's not spoken. I've witnessed it a lot of times in my life. A lot of comedians do this bit about you can watch people connect. And like, even when we're hanging out on the Zooms, there's kind of that I see what's happening. Usually it's like I'm about to get teamed up on, which I love, but it's, you can kind of witness a solidarity in a group of people, in any group, but it's interesting to kind of see that come together. All right. So.
Ooh, the secret's out. So you've seen it, huh?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, though.
You see, like,
not every Black woman is always sees it. I think there has to be the women. It's some I've noticed.
Harris Faulkner, Fox News.
They just it's so depressed inside that they've like depressed that instinct. But as I was telling you, Pete, earlier, yesterday when I happened to be looking at that nonsense called Ted Cruz and his silliness, and when Judge Jackson did the sigh, like she did the pause, the look down, the sigh, I was like, that's the Black woman sigh. Like, and immediately I was like, that is the Black one. Black women heard that sigh around the country and was like, I got you. Because it's one of those things you got to get yourself back. Because you want to say, what the F? But then you can't. And you got people looking at you. So you got to like get yourself together. As my mother used to say, get your face together. Get your face together. And then you got to like speak in a tone that's not threatening or like condescending.
Why?
But
Brett Kavanaugh screamed at everybody.
He can.
Okay,
He's a white man.
He can. And he had a whole skit, and people still took him seriously.
Yeah.
And he loves beer.
Yeah. And the caucasity. He could be very, very flip in return and be like, do you like beer? We could never do that. And like Kim said, it's not only your tone, it's your face.
Yeah.
You roll your neck, you hold it in, you take an extra pregnant pause, and they are holding it against you. We are supposed to get punched dead in the throat, then the stomach, but still smile and give them the response that they want from us.
You describing it, it's easier to see than describe, I suppose. But what it sounds like is there's so much bubbling and boiling, and you can't let it come out on the outside. So that's why your body has subtle movements and air escaping, because it's all you can do to open the valve just a little bit to let out.
It's opening the bottle of club soda a little slow, because it's always going to explode.
Right.
Yep.
I bet you she said to herself, this motherfucker went to Harvard. You sure
Right.
about that? I mean, like, that was what was in my head when he started.
And you're referencing how do we speak to each other without even speaking? You know, you don't, I'm sure well, we're going to tell on ourselves right now, but something happens. Somebody says something crazy on our weekly Zoom calls, and there's a text thread that goes around. Be like,
or the private
girl, what did you see
I saw
this?
your face.
Right. It's instant camaraderie. It's cover. It's, again, for me, it's the I see you. I saw you get disrespected, and I'm with you. And whatever happens, you're right.
And that happens. And that happens in a lot of different arenas in your life, I suppose. But that's an interesting. That's awesome. That's hilarious and awesome. I love that that's the case, and I hope that's the case with a lot of people all the time, because I got one going too.
But isn't that like when you're in a room with other comedians?
No.
And
Nope. Sorry, I can't improv this one.
Wait. Can I just say yesterday?
Oh, were we comparing other comedians, the solidarity of comedians with black women?
No, I'm just saying it's like when you're with your crew.
People
when you're with your crew, and then you pass. My dad used to call it passing eyes. I saw you passing eyes.
Oh, that's funny.
You don't say anything. You just go.
I used to do a joke in my stand-up act about, and there is some truth to this, that there's not that kind of solidarity with white straight men for sure. Like, I suppose gay men might be able to have it.
That's BS. There it is. Because they go. Yes, there is. No, yes, there is. I'm sorry, it may not be with you, but it is there.
Meaning, our solidarity is protect what we have, but it's not like, hey, let's work together, because we're already kind of. It's kind of a product of not having.
You want dominance.
Losing something.
Struggle. So by banding together, you can keep all of us down.
Right.
Yeah. No,
yeah, it's not struggling for resources, though. So it's not like you have to look out for somebody.
I guess what I mean.
Let's bring this person down a tad. Oh, right. Karen's a sassy black girl. Let me knock her down. So we're going to band together.
I guess what I mean is obviously there's solidarity amongst white men, white supremacy. That's the whole it's everything. But I'm saying what I mean is like walking into a room and being like, who's got my back or who can relate to me. I guess I just don't really think
because you don't have to think about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's so we agree that you see what I'm saying. I wasn't.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No, it's fine. I just I can understand why you would react.
Well, it's just like yesterday. I was in this room. It was like 4 people of color, because I'm a Hispanic guy. And this one lady who was to the side of me, I'm so glad she was to the side of me and not directly behind me. She started talking about she couldn't understand why we wanted a train to go to Chicago. She's like, I've been to Chicago, and my daughter and I just felt so uncomfortable. It's dirty. And I started walking around. I just didn't feel safe. And oh my God, who would want to go to Chicago? And I'm sitting there right next to her, like thinking, bitch, I just came from Chicago. What are you talking about? And so I just sat there and I just kept thank God I kept my mask on, so I have a mask on. And I'm just sitting there like, and then my staff member, who's a black male, he looked across, he stared right at me. And he's just like, and we just stared at each other. And I could not so after he's like, I'm just glad that she did not see the instant look on your face when she said Chicago is dirty.
Those masks saved us, right? Like if there was a positive about the mask.
They do.
Oh my gosh, you can sit in a meeting and be like,
bitch, please.
But I have the problem because my eyes are so dramatic. So, I will tell on myself regardless, but at least the face and the snarl is covered up with the mask.
Well,
that there's a snarl.
What is the most frivolous thing we could end on? And I cannot wait to do this again. But, what is a, Vikki, I'll let you lead here if you don't mind, a recipe an artist, anything that you want to say, that you want to defend, that you think some of the other ladies, panelists, might take issue with. You do make some weird foods, according to me. I think Francis and Karen may know what I'm talking about, and I'm not sure where Kimberly lives on this. But go ahead, Vikki. What do you got? What is it that you want? What hill would you like to die on? That's what this last segment's called. The hill I'll die on.
I will die on the hill of lettuce, craisins, pecans, walnuts, mandarin oranges. It is a delicious salad, EJ.
I'm not. If this isn't about, this is not about me. I'm now controlling my emotions. Go ahead, Francis. Francis, do you want to say anything about Vikki's whatever she called that? I think she
and
called
a raspberry vinaigrette for the dressing.
That's right. That's right. But I don't know about those mandarin oranges. Can we do some apples? Maybe a strawberry instead?
Sometimes.
Do you have any protein on this salad?
Mostly chicken or tuna.
Okay.
Tuna and mandarins at the same time?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The tuna and fruit. I'm with you, Vic. I'm with you.
You don't put fruit in your chicken salad?
We're talking about tuna. You just said tuna.
Okay,
so
but
tuna and fruit is a hell no.
You don't put craisins in your tuna? Who are you people?
Who are you? Where do you come from? No, just kidding.
Where do you just get like a mandarin, you get an orange and then you peel it and then you put the pieces on there, or you buy them in?
You break up the little pieces. And then
now fruit with chicken salad I can rock with.
On the side.
No, in
the mix.
You put grapes. You put grapes in the chicken salad.
No.
Throw some nuts in there.
A chicken salad is not salad. What are you talking about?
But I'm anti-tuna. Tuna and fruit is a negative. That seems like Alka-Seltzer, Pepto-Bismol.
Okay, wait.
A night on the cold porcelain floor.
This is some East Coast, West Coast weird stuff.
Okay, what
listen.
you got? What you got?
I'm from the South.
This is exactly
South of.
This is exactly.
I'm from Dallas, Texas. I'm from the Big D.
I'm from my kinfolk from Pekin, Mississippi. Come on now.
Pekin.
Where? Wait a minute. I have to verify that's a real place.
I feel like, is it harder, Karen, is it harder for you to deliver where you're from with as much passion because it's Providence?
It's not even Providence. Like, I would be lying if I said it was Providence. It is much smaller and much less known.
You're like, I'm from Rhode Island. It just doesn't seem as hard. But anyway, how about this one?
Say I'm from the RI.
Can we do one more? And this one is a hygiene product.
Oh, Jesus.
Will this be divisive? Is there a skin or a hair or a soap or a something?
No, because we all use hygiene products. So why would that be divisive?
And we
shower more than once a week.
Often. And
more than once a week, for sure.
And we put
more than once a day.
Like, what is this?
Sorry, Dan, if you're listening.
No, yes.
Anybody use black soap?
Lye soap?
Black
soap?
Only when I'm oily.
Okay. Oh, it's golden. It's fantastic.
It tries me out. I can't. I use cocoa butter.
Yeah, it's tough on my face.
I love me some cocoa butter.
I mean, if we're going to talk, I don't know what you want to talk about hygiene. I mean, I just got some Botox yesterday.
What? Did you?
I sure did.
That's fantastic.
Is that controversial?
Wait a minute.
I have a problem when people are beautiful.
I can't pin you.
Yeah. I don't like it when people do it and they're already beautiful and they have great facial structure and then they do it and they just blowfish themselves out. Like,
no. We just do it because I get like some harsh lines and I look a little bit like a Shar-Pei puppy. That's a little too much. And I went to a new place yesterday and they did a skin analysis and you know, I'm not doing too bad in the wrinkle department or the spots or anything. So I'm doing a good job. It's very important because, as we all know, and as I will mention at any opportunity, we will be turning 50 this summer, and I'm having a little bit of a problem digesting it. So, you know, let's just do some preventative things. Take better care of my skin, drink more water. And if I have to get a hit of Botox here and there, I'm in.
Sunscreen?
Pete really felt you on that Shar-Pei thing.
Yeah.
You felt her, didn't you?
I do. I call it a pack of Franks, and a lot lives in mine.
That one's fine. It's the one that's on the back of the neck that ooh.
Oh yes.
Ooh. Yowzers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That looks like the amplitude.
Do you have
line.
the 11s? Do you have the 11s?
Yes.
I got that.
The lines right between your eyes especially when you're upset. Yeah. No. All right. Well, Kimberly, I thought there might be a lot of disparity with some of these products, but you're saying that there really isn't. That you're saying that black women generally use similar products. And I guess I'm surprised by that, but I'm surprised by a lot.
But it depends.
Unless you're that new black.
But it also depends on your skin. If I'm oily in the T-zone, and I'm dry here.
T-zone.
So I use a product for T.
You got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going back to a conversation we had with the larger group around showering. And I don't think that we really need to revisit that conversation ever again.
That was heated, not amongst us. It was heated amongst the larger
people were getting really upset about the realities of life. I don't understand that. You stink.
Kimberly,
and
go ahead.
It's not waiting until you stink to shower.
Well,
so that's where the rubber meets the road. Is it's preventative.
Something about this final part of the conversation made me realize that it's time that I should bathe. Given the period that has passed between my last bathment.
Your last bath.
That's not the truth I needed to hear.
Shed smells like when you have your daughter come in there.
Yeah.
Do you have to air it out first, or?
She should have come out here tonight for the closing of this, and she could ask us a question.
Yeah, we will invite her and any number of people into this smaller conversation. But could
you imagine Dan McDonald in this conversation?
Yes,
he'd be having a stroke right about now.
Yes.
He'd be mansplaining his ass off.
Is he not a washer, or is he? He
said that you're washing off the good bacteria from your skin.
I think he said your flora.
Yeah, which I promptly responded to. I had taken 5 showers in the matter of like 2 days.
Yeah. The stand-up with Pete Dominic HR department was working overtime after that conversation to make sure everybody was okay with some of his quote skin science.
I don't.
Because
I think some people are still upset.
Yeah, but he talked about the spit ring that night.
Yes. Yeah.
No, mouth ring. That's what it was called.
Yes.
I listened to you, Dan, in case you're listening.
I'm glad that I blocked that out.
Okay, ladies, I'll let you go, and I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this and appreciated it. Kimberly, Francis, Vikki, Karen, you guys, this was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
4 Shades and Pete.
4 Shades and Pete, Vikki said. Well, what did you think? What did you think of that? Let me know. I am really curious and interested and excited because I think you probably liked it. Probably liked it a lot. I know I did. I know the ladies did. And I look forward to hearing from you. standupwithpete@gmail.com, and I can connect you with all of them. You can learn more about them and their lives and where they are and how you might become friends with them too, because so many people in this listening community have actually become good friends and met each other in different places all over the country. Hopefully we'll all get to meet each other at some point. Stand Up Palooza, when and where, I'm open to suggestions. standupwithpete@gmail.com. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. to us today and this very special episode of Stand Up. And I look forward to talking with you tomorrow, where I'll be joined by Christian Finnegan, Ophira Eisenberg, and public defender from New Orleans Public Defenders, Derwin Bunton, will join me to talk about the role of public defenders, as always, how that has changed, what it means for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, a former public defender herself, to be on the Supreme Court. Had a great conversation with him. I think you're going to love. But that's all I've got for you today. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope to see you at tonight's Hangout, where many of these women will be themselves making appearances, and that should be really fun to celebrate them. All right, see you then. Bye-bye.
Off of your foot, down off of your fence, even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense, and you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town, just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down, boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Where the money all went, it'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand